Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Representative Baum. Here. Camper. Here. Cochran. Here. Faison. Garrett. Here. Hawk. Yes. Hazelwood. Hicks of Washington. Here. Love. Moon. Shaw. Whitson. Williams. Chairman Hicks.
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee to order for March the 13th, 2024. Members, are there any announcements or personal orders this morning? Hearing none and seeing none, we have a total of 22 bills on our calendar for today. And so the first item is going to be item number 1 is House Bill 2547 by Leader Lambert. You have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As all of us know, our road superintendents had kind of a rough winter. I mean, it's been tough on the pavement. This just gives them a little more flexibility when buying bulk fuel.
All right. Thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion? Again, we're on House Bill 2547. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now up Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Leader, for the bill. In your amendment, it talks about 3 documented quotes. Are they mandated to get these 3 quotes, or is it just an option for them to get them?
No, shall whenever possible get those 3
Okay,
quotes.
sure.
I mean, this is a 1-paragraph bill. It does exactly what it says there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 2547, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 2547 moves on to full finance.
The committee.
Thank you, Leader. All right, members, let's go to item number 12. Is Representative Martin in here? I don't see Representative. Okay, so, all right, we'll just stick with number 2. Item number 2 on the calendar is going to be House Bill 2365 by Chairman Carringer. You have a motion second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman. House Bill 2365 is really just a simple bill. All it does is authorize members of the Council on Autism Spectrum Disorder to receive a reimbursement for travel expenses incurred for attendance at meetings of the Council. There's 18 members on there, and half of them are already paid for by the agencies they work for. So this is just for the 9 others, just for them to travel.
All right,
So with that, I stand for question.
All right, thank you very much, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2365. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 2365, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2365 goes behind the budget.
Thank you,
Chair
Chairman.
Lady. All right, that brings us to item number 3 on our calendars, House Bill 1936 by Chairman Haston. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill would continue to make available the ability for each high school senior to take nationally recognized career readiness assessment at no cost to the student, which is usually the ACT work keys.
All right, thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none. House Bill 1936 does have a fiscal note associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1936 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, that brings us to item number 4, and that is Chairman Hurt. There he is. That's House Bill 2496. You have a motion, a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2496 is a TASER study solar facility implementation bill, and this is just an update to our solar regulations based on a TASER study and their recommendations.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description and discussion on House Bill 2496. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 2496, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 2496 moves on to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
All right, item number 5 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1835 by Chairman Rudd. You have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. I have an amendment 15145.
15145. That's what I have, and it rewrites the bill. So let's get a motion to second on the amendment. You have a motion to second. We're going to go ahead and get the amendment on the bill if that's okay. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on amendment drafting code 015145 on the House Bill 1835. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. You're recognized.
Thank you. I've been working with the governor's office for the past few months, and we're getting there. This would set aside for the fastest growing counties, or are in the top 20%, which would be 7 counties. It would set aside 1.4% of the state shared sales tax for school construction, infrastructure, and school debt. And it would help them for 5 years. It sunsets in 2029. And the governor's said that he's going to do his best to get an amendment to the bill to either fund it or a part of it. So I'm waiting on that. And that's what the bill would do. So these fast growing counties are generating a lot of revenue for the state, but they're bursting at the seams and they can't keep up. So this would be an effort for 5 years to help them out. And that's what the bill does, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Rudd, for the description. Members, in discussion, Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. I thank you for bringing this, but I do want to ask you, I was trying to read this bill real fast. Is there anything in this legislation that would hinder these fast-growing counties if they wanted to do something a little different, or would they be locked in to follow your prescriptions of the legislation?
I'm not
Chairman Rudd.
I'm not totally sure what it would do. It would give them, and the formula is in the fiscal note for the 7 counties. It would give them money for school construction and school debt and maintenance. That's what it would do. As long as they used it for those purposes, that's what it would be.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you. And I understand that. I think what I'm asking you is, though, under these guidelines that you've got in this bill, if they wanted to do something outside of that, would they be hindered to do that in any way?
Oh, yeah. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it's just for that. They can't spend it in general fund. It's strictly for school construction, school maintenance, school infrastructure, and school debt.
Representative Shaw. All right, thank you. Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 1835. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1835, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1835 goes behind the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, that brings us to item number 6 on our calendar. It's going to be House Bill 2584 by Chairman Russell. You have a motion, a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I do have an amendment.
It is traveling with the bill, so you're in the proper posture to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2584 as amended prohibits the Department of Environment and Conservation from charging a fee for an aquatic resource altercation permit to a local government or for emergency infrastructure repair or for maintenance activities necessary to replace or otherwise maintain a culvert. In simpler terms, they don't have to pay for a tile permit. So.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Russell, for the description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 2584? Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 2584 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2584 goes behind the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, item number 7 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 2174 by Representative Alexander. I've got a request to roll this 1 week, so without objection, rolled 1 week. All right, that brings us to item number 8 on our calendar. Item number 8 is House Bill 2745 by Chairman Clemens. I have a request here to take this off notice. So without objection, House Bill 2745 is off notice. All right, moving right along to item number 9. Item number 9 is going to be House Bill 521 by Representative Dixie. I don't see him. Without objection, we'll roll to the hill. That brings us to item number 10. Item number 10 is going to be House Bill 2190 by Representative Fritz. He has perfect timing walking in. We are on item number 10, House Bill 2190. You have a motion and a second, sir. We'll give you a time to get your documents in order. And again, we're on House Bill 2190. You've got a motion and a second, and you're recognized for a brief description, sir, as soon as you catch your breath.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. And if I could go out of order for just a moment and recognize Benjamin Gillette, who is just walked in with me, and he is my shadow for today.
Very well. Stand up, Benjamin. Good to have you here. Thank you for joining us. You're recognized, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill simply goes to Article 3, Section 5 of our Tennessee Constitution, authorizing the governor to deploy additional forces to the Texas border. I'm going to move past why we need this bill for just a moment, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, and talk a little bit about fiscal note, if that's okay with
Okay.
y'all. So when you look at the fiscal note, we got a letter from Mr. Bryson yesterday referring to the 1.4 million fiscal note that was on this bill. And as I understand that note, it pulls that back. There is still a consideration of the possibility of this requiring a special session. The way the bill is written, I'm sure y'all are familiar with the language of the bill. It talks about a 1-year duration and requiring a reapproval. There's a 90-day and a 30-day in this. I did the timeline on that this morning. I understand there will be a consideration of a possible fiscal note for a special session. Under an assumption that this bill were successful and passed and signed into law, I presumed an early date of that occurring on March 27th of this year. And following those dates and timelines, 1 year out, minus the 90 days that's written into the code as it is, and then with the 30-day extension, if we're close to General Assembly session, I think that we're going to put ourselves again in the place that we would be able to deal with this if there was an extension during next session. So I would just offer that for consideration, and have several other talking points, but I will open to any questions, Mr. Chairman, that you all have, or any further explanation you need on the bill.
Okay, Representative Fritz, thank you very much for the description. Members, any discussion? Again, we're on House Bill 2190. Seeing none and hearing none, House Bill 2190 does have a cost associated with it, the sponsor alluded to. So we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2190 goes behind the budget. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, members,
Thank you,
we are
Chairman.
going to, we try to accommodate where we can, when we can. So let's go to item number 12. Item number 12 is going to be House Bill 2622 by Representative Martin. You have a motion and a second. Again, we're on House Bill 2622, and you are recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. This legislation provides a pathway for an ambulatory surgery center to apply for a secondary license from the Board of Pharmacy. With this, the Board of Pharmacy license, the ambulatory surgery center will be eligible to apply for an institutional DEA license. The institutional license allows for the facility to be licensed by the DEA. Currently, that license must be held by a medical director individually. And this language has been worked out with the Department of Health, and I'd appreciate a favorable vote and be happy to answer any questions.
All right, Representative Martin, thank you very much for the description. Members, any discussion? Again, we're on House Bill 2622. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 2622, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 2622 moves on to full finance. Thank you, sir. All right, members, let's jump back to item number 9. Item number 9 on our calendar is going to be Representative Dixie. You have a motion and a second.
Thank you,
Give me
Mr.
just a
Chairman.
second, Representative Dixie. Let me get caught up here myself. Sorry about that. All right. We have a motion and a second on House Bill 521. I noticed you've got an amendment which rewrites the bill, so let's go ahead and get that amendment on, and then we'll let you explain the bill. So we have a motion and a second on the amendment. That's drafting code 015651. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. In discussion on the amendment, hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on amendment drafting code 015651 onto House Bill 521. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for working with me and getting me in here. Thank you so much. According to the American Music Therapy Association, music therapy is clinical and evidence-based use of music interventions to accomplish individualized goals within a therapeutic relationship by a credentialed professional, a board-certified music therapist who has completed an approved music therapy program. Many populations of people benefit from musical therapy: Alzheimer's, dementia, behavioral disorders, bereavement, eating disorders, so on and so on. The mental health, including emotional disorders such as PTSD, substance abuse, and other things in older adults. Currently, there are approximately 160 board certified music therapists in Tennessee across the state in various health and community educational settings. There are 3 music therapy degree programs in Tennessee. There's Austin P, University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and Belmont University. A 4th program is currently being explored to establish at the University of Memphis. Music therapists seek state recognitions for the protection to ensure the safety of its citizens. State recognition would help to increase access to services provided by qualified practitioners who receive their college requirements and pass the board examination and maintain their credentialing through the certification of Board of Music Therapists. I have some people, hopefully I think everything was submitted timely, that would love to speak on this if given enough time.
All right, let's do this as right before we do that. Does anybody have any questions for the sponsor? And again, we'll come back in session in just a second, give you another opportunity. But is any initial questions? Representative Shaw.
Mr. Chairman, I know that I am out of order, but could I take a personal privilege for just
may.
a moment? I'd like to recognize, first of all, my sheriff of Hardeman County, Sheriff Doolin, who's here, and my sheriff from Haywood County, Sheriff Billy Garrett, and of course, I believe that chief deputies are with them and some other staff members who are here today. If you could help me make them welcome, I certainly would appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And by the way, Deacon Terry Smith over there, he's my personal bodyguard.
I saw him side-eyeing you. I wasn't sure what that was about. Now I know why. All right. Any initial questions for the sponsor, Representative Dixie? All right. I don't see any. Without objection, we're going to go out of session. So we are out of session. I'm going to ask our speakers to please state your name, any affiliation that you're with this morning, and you have 3 minutes. So we'll let you know the time. You may begin.
Are we good?
There
Thank
you
you. My name is Cassie Shear, and I'm a senior music therapy major at Belmont University with the Tennessee Music Therapy Task Force. Though I'm originally from out of state, I moved to Nashville to study music therapy due to the exciting opportunities in the fields of music and healthcare here. As a music therapy student at Belmont, I've taken classes in necessary musicianship skills through lessons in piano, guitar, voice, percussion, theory, as well as classes where I've built vital clinical skills, including education on psychology, the effects of aging on older adults, medical settings, working with people with disabilities, and child development. This robust training has been accompanied by clinical hours in my practicum settings, in which I've led supervised music therapy groups and individual sessions with elderly clients with dementia, disabled children, pediatric oncology patients, and children of refugee families. These experiences are part of the 1,200 hours of clinical training that I must complete in addition to my classes to become a music therapist, and I will gain the rest of these hours during a full-time 6-month internship. My education will then qualify me to take a board certification exam in music therapy, which is regulated by a national board covering a wide range of competencies to ensure that music therapists can provide the highest standard of care to our patients. After I'm certified, I want to continue to live and practice music therapy in the state of Tennessee. This bill creates licensure that will protect my future work as a music therapist here, but more importantly, that will protect my clients by ensuring that they have increased access to a necessary healthcare service facilitated by highly trained professionals. Licensure through this bill ensures that someone without the required education and clinical experience, who would therefore not be board certified, cannot call themselves a music therapist. There would be a regulated standard of care for those receiving music therapy in Tennessee. To me, all of this is worth the personal cost of renewing a state license biannually. Music therapy can support the non-musical goals of patients that may not respond to traditional treatments because of the unique aspects of music and its impacts. For example, at TriStar Centennial, I worked with a patient on emotional coping skills as she received an experimental cancer treatment. I intentionally structured sessions to practice identifying emotions through musical elements, such as melodies that sounded happy or sad, or analyses of a singer's emotions within the lyrics of a song. The use of my patient's favorite music helped her better comprehend complex emotional experiences and find the words to describe difficulties associated with hospitalization, leading to increased coping with the challenges of a really arduous treatment. As a student with a really exciting future in music therapy ahead of me, I hope I've helped you to understand the necessity of licensure for our profession and our clients. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. And we'll let all of our speakers speak if they would like to, and then we'll open it up the floor for any questions. So if you'd like, whoever's next, please begin.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having us here. I'm looking forward to your questions after all this. My name is Adrian Harkin Valdivia. I am a neurologist and stroke physician, and I work at Centennial Medical Center, TriStar. Over the years, I have been so impressed with the work done by music therapists, and I was actually quite surprised to hear that they do not have a licensure in the state of Tennessee. But music therapy is music is a strong human activity and strong activity that helps us appreciate and create our world. Music can be seen also as therapy and has been seen as therapy throughout the centuries. From when you look at the history, we see how music was used to console or drive human activity from wars to sadness. And a lot of the creation and inspirations have been done through music. But please understand that music, as the passive active of listening, is one thing, and that's probably the one item that we're most familiar with. Music as we're going to enjoy music and be entertained by music. The work of the music therapist is different than that. It's the active use of music to help the patient through a difficult time to improve their quality of life, their quantity of life. As the decades have gone through, we know that, and we have learned the benefits that music has on the brain. We have a music part of the brain, and through that conduit, we can help rehabilitate other parts of the brain. Sometimes that's all they have, a conduit of entry to be able to regain other functions. For example, we use movement to rehabilitate patients, and our colleagues in the physical therapy and occupational therapy, that's what they use to rehabilitate their patients, movement. They have licensure. In preparation to coming to talk to you yesterday, I went to cut my hair. As I'm sitting there getting ready, so that sitting on the chair, I noticed that my hairdresser has a licensure stuck on her mirror, and I believe that our colleagues in music therapy who have spent years of inspiration, of training and dedication, of research and growth it should be considered for licensure in Tennessee. It is through music therapy that we can engage social, physical, cognitive, and emotional aspects for the recovery of the patient and use that in a systematic and deliberate fashion.
Doctor, if you go ahead and just finish up your
Okay.
thought.
Nowhere, I think, it's more fitting to be able to combine music therapy as it would be in Musical City, Nashville, and music state as in Tennessee, and be able to provide our support together to music therapy as a licensure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, doctor. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Yvonne Glass, and I'm a board-certified music therapist and the internship director at Centennial Medical Center. I practiced in Tennessee for over 35 years, doing clinical work, teaching adjunct at university, and as a curriculum consultant for university programs. I have a master's in music therapy, advanced training in neurologic music therapy, neonatal and medical music therapy, and the Bonney method of guided imagery and music. I work primarily in emergency and inpatient behavioral health, but I also serve patients in the med-surg, neuro, and cardiac intensive care units. I want to share an example of my practice. I worked with a patient in the cardiac intensive care unit for many months after receiving a doctor's order to treat him. He was critically ill and on an ECMO machine, which oxygenated his blood and as his own heart and lungs couldn't. He was anxious, depressed, and very stressed, all of which affected his breathing, pulse rate, and blood pressure in a negative manner. The first time I met with him, he wasn't even responsive. So I spoke with him in the room and his wife, and then I used my guitar to address his issues using temporal, dynamic, and melodic cueing. In the course of the session, I was able to decrease his blood pressure, significantly lower his pulse rate, and increase his oxygen saturation. He needed what evidence-based music therapy can do. I treated him for several months. And when he was off the ventilator, I was able to use music to engage him, provide a sense of normalization amidst the beeping machines, and was able to strengthen his voice and breathing. The last day I worked with him before he was transferred to a rehab center, I entered the room and his wife started crying when she saw me. She proceeded to say, "He's being discharged later today." And I remember the very first time that you saw us. I just kept looking at his monitors and watching his pulse come down and everything get better. He has come so far. Thank you. I also work with stroke patients to regain cognition, localize sound, and begin their journey towards long-term rehab. I work with patients who are depressed and suicidal and need to learn how to cope with their lives. Music therapy does all that. Licensure is so important because the people of Tennessee deserve treatment by skilled and board-certified music therapists who are capable of this work and serve to help, not harm, individuals. Licensure provides oversight and quality control of the services that we do provide. I'm proud of how far music therapy has come during my career, and even prouder that my daughter is studying music therapy at university. I hope this helps you understand how imperative licensure is for our profession.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, speakers, for being here. Members, does anyone have any questions for our guests? And we're going to begin with Chairman Hogg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the presenters and to the sponsor of the legislation. We had this bill in Health Sub and Health Committee last year. I voted for it twice, so I appreciate where we're coming from. And context for me, my mother is the epitome of a little old lady piano teacher. So I have seen this and been a part of this my whole life. Both my daughters were exposed to music as early as a few days old and went through kinder music programs. And they're both fairly intelligent young ladies right now, smarter than their old dad is, and I'm very pleased. Let's talk a little more contextually why we're seeing this legislation, and I'm wondering why we're bringing the bill. What is the current billing structure? How are individuals able to, music therapists able to bill? And in that vein, is this going to help insurance or create an insurance stream of revenue for the musical therapy field? The ladies may have a better idea than others.
And did you answer, if you just state your name as you answer, just so we can make sure that folks tune in, know who you are.
Yvonne Glass. Again, I am a clinical practitioner, and the billing structure for music therapy really varies from entity to entity. I work for a hospital. I do not bill for services. My services are included in the comprehensive care of an individual. People who run a private practice and go into different facilities and work with people individually, bill them directly. And so there's lots of different ways to do that. Currently in this state, because there is no licensure, it is very hard to get insurance covered care. So that is a challenge. Absolutely.
Chairman Hogg. Okay, thank you. Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. And I wholeheartedly believe in what you do. I just want to understand, first of all, for training, I understand. Because there is some techniques to musical therapy. It's more than just being able to play the guitar to sing. So you would get the training, which would eliminate those people who do not have that training because that could be some harm to a patient if there's not some personal training involved in this. And so what this bill would do would give you a license to get the training you need and to put you in a position maybe to file for an insurance claim, whatever the case may be, but in a professional way. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct. So
Again, just state your name. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
You're
Yvonne
fine.
Glass. Yes, and we don't own music. This does not prevent a church choir, a community group, musicians on call. It doesn't prevent anybody from going in to hospitals and agencies to provide a sort of entertainment for people. So please understand that also. But it means that when somebody wants a music therapist, it is us. And there is no question about that, because people can go in. If I just go in and do something musical for somebody and it makes them agitated, that doesn't serve any purpose. That's harm. So we would, with licensure, the state would also have oversight to say those people, whoever that person is, cannot practice because they are not licensed. So, and we would have a result of license have to continue education on a consistent basis to maintain our licensure.
Representative Shaw.
And you brought up a very interesting point about the music. There again, I think the license would put you in a position not to get sued by the music company, because if we, being in the music business that I'm in as a radio station, we got to make a disclaimer that we don't own the music we play.
Correct.
But we are licensed to be a radio station. So I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you're saying the same thing. You need that license in order to be protected from the music industry, and at the same time be qualified to be a music therapist to help people or help patients in whatever way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, and thank you for the legislation.
Doc, you may respond if you'd like to.
Yeah, Adrian Valdivia, to follow up on your first question, the appropriate use of the music by the vision and understanding of how it can be used to regenerate the brain, it does induce neuroplasticity, regrowth, reconnections, but it needs to be done in a certain way. It isn't just the passive act of listening to any kind of music. Because, for example, if I cannot see or detect the left side of my body, being able to put like a maraca on my left hand and being able to say, oh, there's my left hand and I can track it now, then that starts to create connections and be able to regain function and quality of life for the patient.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Next on my list is Representative Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate that. Thank you all for being here. I'm curious about this because I thought this was an insurance piece to make sure your services can be covered by insurance, which I think has some other issues attached to it. But I was curious, what do you have to do to become? You said you were board certified, but we don't have a certification here, so I don't know if that's somewhere else. So if you could let me know kind of what does that particularly mean? But then what is the training? Is there a school? How does someone obtain getting where you are, if you're a board certified music therapist? What's the training behind that? How do you become one of those?
So you must attend a university approved program. That program will be approved by the American Music Therapy Association and NASM, the National Association of Schools of Music. You complete an educational curriculum, which includes an immersion into clinical practice, and then you must complete a 6-month clinical internship under the supervision of a board certified music therapist. Again, I'm an internship director, so I train students at the kind of the terminal end of their college training. Once you do all of that, you are then able to sit for a board certification exam, which is administered by the Certification Board for Music Therapists. Being able to pass that exam is the qualification for entry level practice. So without all of those things on paper and certified, you may not practice. At that point, that's where all of us are in this state. Licensure, however, separates us from everybody else that maybe wants to say that they are providing a therapeutic service when they are not. And it also allows oversight from the state to say, we've had a problem with somebody, they have licensure, so you can also address any concerns that you have from the state level. So it's another layer of protection for the consumer, as well as protective of who goes in and offers services.
Representative Gary.
Thank you for that. I appreciate your answer.
Thank you. I have no one else on my list. Any other questions? Doctor, you're recognized.
Adrian Valdivia here. You know, to follow up on the question, if interested, I have actually the whole training program for the American Music Therapy Association for the competencies that they have to meet, the minimum competencies they have to meet, the educational requirements, the standards for training and practice of a music therapist, if interested, right there.
Okay, and Ms. Shearer, you're recognized.
Thank you. As a current student at Belmont University, I can also speak to this if you're interested. My program is 4 years, and I've taken classes from music classes where I've had to learn music theory and perform in the ensembles at Belmont, like the orchestra and things like that. But I've also taken classes on child development and on psychology. I'm currently in an anatomy class. This is how extensive and rigorous our training is. So I'm just halfway through my clinical training as well. I'm going to go to my internship in the fall, and then that will be actually the bulk of my education, where I will be under a supervisor like Miss Glass, who will really help teach me in those clinical settings so that I have the instincts and the knowledge to best treat my patients.
All right, thank you very much. Members, anyone else like to be recognized for any questions? If not, thank you very much to our guests. Thank you all for being here. Very informative. Thank you very much. Without objection, we're going to go back into session. Without objection, we're back in session, and we will go to our sponsor. Any remarks you'd like to make, sir?
I would like to say I appreciate them coming to advocate for their industry and the passion that they have for it. They came back actually on their day on the Hill, and that's how it kind of got revived. They came to some of my colleagues, and they brought me actually sign-on sheets. It's like, hey, you want to do this bill, can you bring it back? And I applaud them for really just sticking with it and doing what they need to do, because they really deserve to be recognized. And I think they're in a unique position. I don't know how many people actually come to us and say, hey, we want to be regulated, and these are the rules, and we can be self-sufficient financially and make sure that we provide by the state laws. So thank you for listening to me and indulging them, talking about their profession.
All right, thank you, Representative Dixie. Any further discussion? Again, we're on House Bill 521 for the sponsor. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 521, so we will have to consider it at a later date. We'll have to put it behind the budget. So without objection, House Bill 521 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Representative Dixie.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to item number 11. Item number 11 on our calendar is House Bill 2264 by Representative Hakeem. You have a motion and a second. And sir, you are recognized on a brief description. We'll give you a moment to get your papers in order.
All right.
Again, we're on House Bill 2264. Representative Hakeem, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I've been called worse.
and members. In cooperation, working with Senator Watson and school superintendent Robertson in Hamilton County, what we're doing is asking that a middle school be removed from the intervention pilot program in Hamilton County. And but all bills, we'll say, that are due would be paid under this agreement. And in addition to that, it would return $250,000 to the system to be used in a manner that's deemed appropriate. With that, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Representative Hakeem. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2264. Any discussion? Here. Yeah, Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, can you tell us maybe why it didn't work out or why they want to exit the program?
Representative Hakeem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll use that term. It has turned out not to be an appropriate fit. What has been offered and what is needed at that middle school. And so the desire is to exit that program and hopefully come up with a adequate program that meets the needs of that pilot for the middle school.
Leader Cochran. All right. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While the school isn't in my district, it is in Hamilton County. I'm familiar with that, and I would support this bill.
All right, thank you very much. All right, members, further discussion, House Bill 2264. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 2264, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 2264 moves on to full finance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
All right, that brings us to item number 13. Item number 13 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1590 by Representative Pearson. Okay, it went back. Okay. Without objection, then we will roll House Bill 1590 to the Hill. The objection, so moved. That brings us to item number 14. Item number 14 is HJR 851 by Representative Ritchie. I see him back there. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized on HJR 851.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. House Joint Resolution 851 is a constitutional amendment. And what this does is it cleans up the Tennessee Constitution based off of a common practice that's taken place across the state. Currently, right now, religious, charitable, scientific, literary, and educational buildings are eligible for tax breaks, benefits, but historical properties are not specifically listed in the Tennessee Constitution, yet that's common practice across Tennessee is providing tax breaks to historical properties. What this constitutional amendment will do is just put that in there so that our historical properties are listed like the other properties.
All right, Representative Ritchie, thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion on SJR 851? Hearing none and seeing none. Of course, we are going to be having a constitutional amendment calendar coming up in the very near future. So we will, without objection, we're going to place HJR 851 on this calendar. We'll let you know, sir, when that's going to be handed out, but it won't be very long. So without objection, HJR 851 goes on the constitutional amendment calendar. Thank you, sir. All right. I saw Representative Pearson came back into the room. So we'll go ahead and take him up now. All right, members, we're on, again, item number 13. We'll give you just a second to get prepared.
Okay.
Item number 13 is going to be House Bill 1590 by Representative Pearson. We have a motion and a second. You are recognized, but it looks like you've got an amendment that just changes the effective date. So would
That
it
is
be
correct.
okay with you if we go ahead and get that on?
Yes.
And I'm going to make sure I have the right amendment. It's going to be 013822. Is that correct, Representative?
That sounds correct to me.
Okay, we have a motion second on the amendment. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on drafting code 013822 on the House Bill 1590. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. And sir, you are recognized.
Thank you so much, Chairman and Committee. Before you is House Bill 1590, the Strengthen Mental Health Care in Schools Act. I would like to request a roll call vote on this, and we already took care of the amendment, so I appreciate it. This bill simply changes Tennessee Code Title 67, Chapter 6, Part 1, by adding a section that says 100% of the sales tax proceeds collected on firearms, ammunition, and firearm accessories must be deposited by the commissioner into the Mental Health Care in Tennessee Schools account, and it goes through sort of what that creation does. The intent of this bill is simple. We are in an epidemic of gun violence. And we have to do everything that we possibly can to ensure that our students and our communities are safer. And when you're dealing with the problem of epidemic proportions, you need to do everything possible in order to address it. You may not know this, but in the most recent research of the number of people who have died in our state, 1,579 people, 52% of those were by suicide. And so gun violence, though it impacts our community a lot as it relates to homicides and the tragedies that we deal with and the funerals that we go to, if we do not also intentionally address the mental health crises that people are experiencing across our state, especially for students and young people in our schools, we're going to continue to see this problem not only remain consistent, but very likely increase. We're dealing with the ramifications of the effects of isolation from COVID. We're dealing with a lot of people who have suffered loss of loved ones in their communities, and we have to have resources that are provided to our schools that make sure that the students who go there are better. And the only way that we can ensure that isn't just by hoping that things get better or praying that things get better. You need counselors in schools, you need therapists in schools. And so this would allow for the commissioner to be able to use those resources and that revenue in order to send out grants to all LEAs to be able to provide the resources for each and every school that applies to have a therapist, to have a counselor to help them address the challenges that they are having. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion and willing to answer any questions that you all may have.
Okay, Representative Pearson, thank you very much for the description. Let me address one thing. You did request a roll call, but of course we already took a vote on the amendment, so we
Okay.
won't be able to do that. But you're in luck because we're not taking a final vote due to the fiscal impact anyway. So we're, as far as an official final vote, let me say that.
Thank
So
you, Chairman.
with that said, you've heard the description of House Bill 1590. Is there any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill. We've been talking a lot about mental health in our state, and I've said this before, that I'm grateful that we've gotten away from the stigmatism that used to go along with admitting you have a mental health problem. And so we need to do more with respect to mental health. This is just another innovative way, a possible tool that we can use to address the mental health crisis I feel we're having in our state, and not just in our state, just in our country right now. It's just a lot going on. We've been through a lot. COVID was a lot, it's just a lot. Violence, all these things that we're seeing is having an impact on our children in their daily life. So to be able to have, and this is my question to you, is it your vision to have like a mental health professional in all of our schools, or something maybe set up at the LEA level within all of the school districts to have not necessarily a department, but at least I'll just use department for lack of a better word, where we can dispatch mental health professionals throughout the LEA. What's your vision around how you're seeing this money being used?
Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the question, Leader Camper. Look, you can't do anything without money,
Right.
and you need resources in order to be able to finance a grant program like this. But ideally, every one of our schools, just like we passed a bill for every school to get a school resource officer, we need a bill for every school to actually get a therapist. And we have to make sure that our priorities are aligned to what the actual needs are of our communities. And for kids who are dealing with trauma, for kids who are dealing with the ramifications of gun violence in their lives and in the lives of their community, we have to be very serious and very intentional about making sure that they are well. There's an amazing African proverb that, or conversation started that always asks, are the children well? And we have to ask ourselves, are our children well? And when the number one killer of children in our state is gun violence, right? Our children are not well. Yesterday, a group of students came to our office from Shelby County Youth Advocacy Council, and talking about mental health, talking about the trauma of gun violence is real. In my own district, Pastor Livingston, God bless him, he's still alive. I know I mentioned him on the House floor, but his grandson spoke about what had happened to him. And his grandson, 17 years old, and he's lost 7 friends to gun violence. He's 17 years old, and he's lost 7 friends to gun violence. Like, there's no way any of us, right, would not be well in that circumstance, and making sure that we have resources for our kids and for our communities is the most important thing that we can do. And so it has to be a holistic approach. We have to do everything in order to address this, but we need to make sure that there are therapists in schools. This would be, again, a grant program that would probably need more funding to make sure every school can get one, but that needs to be a priority. For this legislative body, if we really want to protect the health and the well-being of our children. Thank you for your
Leader
question.
Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your insights on that. I think having a therapist at every school is a good idea, and the students will get used to seeing that person, and we have confidence enough to go and speak to them. When before you talk about mental health, they shy away from it. But having that person there every day, seeing them and seeing the changes in some of the other students, I think would incline more students to seek out help. So
And if I can
thank
say
you for
one-
the bill.
Thank you.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you. And if I can say one more thing, because as we think about this moving forward, right, you also have a lot of agencies that are able to do this virtually and digitally. And so you could have, in essence, a part of a classroom setup where you're able to do virtual engagements with students. But we have to prioritize this because trauma lives inside of your very body. And if you do not work it out, if you do not talk it out, that shows up in different ways. And we want to be as preventative as we can of those. So thank you, Leader, for the questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Leader Camper. All right, Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and sponsor, thank you again for bringing the bill. I echo the campus sentiments. I will ask this, as we're talking about increasing the number of therapists in the schools, we know there is a stigma around persons seeking therapy and having conversation about what's going on in their lives. Do you think that increasing the number of therapists in the school systems would help remove that stigma and allow persons to then talk out the issues a lot more?
That's exactly what it would do. I mean, being fortunate to have a counselor in a school, or I don't know, some of you may have had a nurse that you could go to when things are going wrong, or someone who could intervene when you were in trouble or you were having trouble, is imperative. I've been the beneficiary of having a counselor that I could go to if something wasn't going so well at home, or I was just having a rough day. Those things help children to deal with whatever circumstances they have or in their lives. And being able to teach the necessary coping mechanisms, being able to teach anger management, being able to help people to work through the situations that they are experiencing, a lot of times due to poverty, a lot of times due to existential crises, is just extraordinarily important. And we have to say that every kid deserves to have someone that they can see and a therapist that they can talk to. I've talked to a lot of folks who are dealing with and reeling from the trauma of gun violence in particular. And parents, even at the Covenant School, and for example, most of the parents that I've talked to made sure their kids had a therapist, right, to deal with the trauma of what happened. In our community, where we're experiencing gun violence nearly every single day, right, where we're experiencing the hurt and the pain of poverty every single day, these kids are then being told the next day, go to school, go learn, and be, the best that you can be. And nobody's really checking on them to say, how are you? And being able to intentionally have that time to help them, because teachers are in classrooms with 35 students. There's no capacity to do it. And so we have to ensure that we increase the capacity of our educational institutions that reach and that connect with our children to be able to support them through life in the ways that they are experiencing it. And if we can do that on the front end, when people are in the educational system, I do believe we reap a lot more benefits afterwards. Just as many adults who find therapy later in life wish they had it sooner.
Okay. Thank you, sponsor. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 1590. Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 1590 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1590 goes behind the budget.
Thank you so much, Chairman and committee.
All right, waiting patiently in the back of the room is item number 15. Item number 15 is House Bill 1665 by Representative Warner. You have a motion, a second. Sir, you are recognized on House Bill 1665.
Thank you, Chairman and committee, and it's an honor to be here in front of you today. This is a simple bill. It helps our veterans, and first of all, kind of off the bill a little bit. I'm a firm believer that this country does not do enough for our veterans. I think anytime that we have the opportunity that we can do a little bit more for our veterans, that we should. What this bill does, Chairman, it establishes two veteran active military personnel only waterfowl hunting season consisting of 1 day or longer per season. Requires that the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Director and Director designee through the county clerks or other legally designed sales agents to issue a state permit for license. So basically what this would do would allow our veterans to hunt 2 days in February. If I'm not mistaken, they may be already 2 weekends in February that are youth hunt that have youth hunts. This would allow that maybe those 2 Sundays that veterans would not have to buy a state license. They still would be required to purchase a federal duck stamp, and that's all the bill does.
All right. Thank you, Representative Warner. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sponsor, for bringing this. I haven't seen the bill text, but does it say honorably discharged veterans?
Representative Warner.
Hang on one second. It says seasons without charge to the veteran or active military personnel. I don't think it addresses the dishonorable part, sir.
Representative Warner, it does.
It does?
It does.
Okay, I just didn't find it in here.
Yep, it is in there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the clarification.
All right. Thank you, Representative Moon.
And thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for that clarification.
Yep, no problem. All right, members, we're on again House Bill 1665. Further discussion. House Bill 1665, of course, does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget, and we will consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1665 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr.
Representative.
Chairman.
Thank you. All right, members, we're on item number 16. Item number 16 is House Bill 2099 by Leader Cochran. We've got a request to roll this 1 week, so without objection, House Bill 2099 is rolled 1 week. Brings us to item number 17 on our calendar. Item number 17 on our calendar is House Bill 1450 by Chairman Faison. We have a request to roll this 1 week, so without objection, House Bill 1450 is rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 18. Item number 18 on our calendar is House Bill 2120 by Chairman Faison. Have a request to roll this 1 week, so without objection, House Bill 2120 is rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 19 by Chairman Faison, House Bill 2793. I have a request to roll this 1 week. So without objection, House Bill 2793 will be rolled 1 week. We are on item number 20 now, House Bill 2425 by Representative Tim Hicks. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill adds notifications to annexations. It requires municipalities to send notifications to adjoining property owners within 200 feet, county mayor, county commissioner whose district includes the territory. It puts a 21-day notice before the first hearing. It requires to put up a sign that is 3 foot by 2 foot with the date, time, and location of the first meeting. And it just sort of adds some stability to annexations. We've not been required to do anything for annexation. We have for rezonings, but not annexation. So that's sort of what it does. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2425. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 2425, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 2425 moves on to full finance. All right. Thank you, Chairman. Item number 21 is going to be House Bill 2171 by Chairman Williams. I have a request to take this bill off notice, so without objection, House Bill 2171 is off notice.
Okay, members, item number 22 on our calendar is House Bill 1999 by Chairman Hicks. Chairman Hicks, you have a motion and a second. You're recognized on the bill.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. House Bill 1999 provides for an increase in funding distributed to each of the our nine development districts across the state. And just as a piece of information, this would be the first funding increase outside of the occasional one-time appropriation since 2007.
Okay, members, you've heard the explanation, discussion. Chairman, Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you for bringing this bill. I do know the need for this, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, then this bill does have a cost, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later time. Without objection, House Bill 1999 will go behind the budget.
All right. Thank you, Chairman and committee. Members, that concludes our calendar for today. Do we have any further business coming before the committee? Hearing none and seeing none. Without objection, we stand adjourned. I see no objection. We're adjourned. Yes.